Whether you're preparing for your next talk on stage or a presentation at work or even just in a classroom, I want to show you how to create an awesome slide deck. Something that takes you from boring and bland like this to something like this with personality and style, something that allows you to make a better impact, to captivate your audience, to stop them from falling asleep, and most importantly, stand out from the crowd. Creating slides can be absolutely stressful, so much that you've probably wanted to punch a hole in your computer, and then you went to YouTube to look for help, and here you are. Well, I'm here to tell you that creating slides doesn't have to be stressful. You know, in this video, I'm going to share 10 things to help you piece all of this together, and afterwards, creating slides is going to become much easier for you. I followed the same process for hundreds of slide decks over my career, for talks in front of hundreds of people, thousands of people, all the way down to the tiny conference room presentation, and even online presentations too. And it starts with number 1 here, which is more of a rule, and that rule is don't use bullet points. Bullets kill people, so why would you use them in your presentation? Why does this matter? Because this is death by PowerPoint. When you have a bunch of bullet points like this, people will start reading from the top. You've probably already started doing this already, and that's when people stop listening to what you're talking about. They're also going to see what's coming next, and they'll pay even less attention. Plus, what am I doing right now? I'm literally just reading these bullet points, and so are you. And so it just sounds more boring and unprepared, and your bullet points become your notes. That's not good. But hey, they help me make sure I cover what I need to cover. Yeah, if you don't know the content, and yeah, if you didn't prepare, and yeah, if you don't believe in yourself. Now, my favorite way to think about slides takes us to rule number 2 here, and that's to use your slides as a trail guide. They're there to help trigger stories, case studies, and other things that you're going to say, and be a visual aid to the story that you're telling or to the point that you're making, not the crutch that you're going to read off of. You have to trust yourself, and when you do, and after a couple rounds of practice, you're going to be able to better engage with your audience, and they'll pay more attention to you and not just reading your slides. Speaking of slides, tip number 3 here is the topic or story or point with one supporting image. Again, the supporting image is just a visual trigger for me and a tool for the audience in a flash to understand what we're talking about and keep the focus on me and the story, not just reading a bunch of text. You're probably already noticing this in the presentation I'm giving to you right now on YouTube, where I have a topic or something to discuss, and then I have a supporting image to go along with that. But then I'm just telling you about it, and I'm going further. I'm not detailing every single word and making it more boring that way. So a slide with an image with a word or two, or maybe a sentence or a quote, and that's it. Next, number 4, choose a style that works for you. What do I mean about that? Well, pay attention to other presentations and view as many as you can and adopt what you love about them into your own style. For example, I remember watching a presentation back in the day where they were using 2 different fonts, just like the ones you're seeing right now. Not the same fonts, but I liked that cursive font with the bold font to sort of mix things up a bit. And then I choose images from different stock photo places. And actually, in the next step, I'll give you my best tool. But the shoes here sort of represent the sort of decision that you have to make with choosing your own style. And you can have your own visual elements. You can have cartoon characters or illustrations, drawings. And then you start to develop the style that people begin to know you for. Next, choose the right presentation software. Now, there's loads of different softwares that you've probably used before, like Keynote for Mac users and PowerPoint, as well as Google Slides. And I've used all of these, and they work okay. They will help you get to the same end result. I've actually made the switch to a different tool, one that you've probably heard of before, but maybe not for presentations, and that's Canva. Canva has been absolutely a game changer for me because it saves me time, and it just enables everything to be just really accessible wherever I have a computer, right? Actually, if I hit escape, you'll see that this presentation that I put together for you right now is actually built on Canva, and I can choose not just from a bunch of different templates, but I can go to elements over here and go red arrow. And this is something that I'd have to struggle with before to go and find like an image or a PNG file. It's all built in right here into Canva, and I can pull different elements like this and images and background images. It's just absolutely fire. So highly recommend checking it out. You can try a free trial at patflynn.com/Canva, or if you go pro, that is an affiliate link. Just want to be upfront with you about that. And let's move on. I definitely recommend you check out Canva. So I'm going to go to present. Let's get back into it. Number 6, this is a big one because especially if you're in a big room, you want to keep the text up at the top, not down at the bottom right. Did you even notice the text at the bottom right-hand corner, not down here? You want to keep the text up there. And the beauty of this is because we don't have a bunch of bullet points or text to worry about. We just have a sentence or even just a couple words. You can pop that at the top of your visual and make it big and bold so everybody, even in the back, can view it. And that's especially helpful if you're at conferences doing this kind of thing. All right, Next up, show a roadmap. This is probably the most advanced or ninja tip here inside of this presentation today. And by show a roadmap, I mean let your audience know using these slides where you're going and where you're at. As you may have noticed, there are these numbers based on these 10 tips that we have here in the corners of these slides. Sometimes they're in the top, sometimes they're in the bottom. This isn't as important, so they're not necessary to be on the top, but it's still important because they help a person. They help you understand, well, how far along are we? And that helps a person who's watching just stay more engaged and get ready for the next tip as well. I use a similar tactic in my most famous presentation called How to Create Superfans. And I show people a roadmap based on these figures here, the pyramid of fandom, and going up this pyramid. And we actually, the different parts of the presentation are these different segments. And so I bring this pyramid back, add another element as we go along, and it helps people know that we're going to superfan status because it doesn't start that way when a person finds you. So this has been really helpful. And again, it helps people understand where we're at, just like a GPS system. Next, charts and graphs. A lot of us in presentations love to stuff our slides with a ton of numbers, a ton of graphs, because it looks fancy, right? Just like what you're seeing on the screen right now. However, if you're at a big conference, right, all these numbers just get jumbled if you're in the back. But even if you're in a small conference room or in a classroom, like look at the screen right now. Where does your eye go? It goes to all these different places. You're probably looking at the wallet and the percent and all these graphs that, like, what do they even mean? And even if you're explaining what they mean, there's just way too many visual elements that happen. Imagine taking the most important data out and describing it like this. Hey guys, we had a rough year last year. As you might have known, we've had some losses. We've had 1,567,000,000. I don't know what, there's not even any commas in here. I just took it from the previous screen here. Anyway, as you can see, this is a much more impactful way to share the parts that I want to bring out. But I can also come back and say, but we did come out ahead. Even though we had a lot of losses, we still had more income come in, and we've had a great year, even though it was rough. This is how I like to pull out the most important numbers and charts and graphs. However, if you still want to show the big graph, there is a trick I want to share with you. This is tip number 9, and that is the light box trick. This is my absolute favorite trick in the book, and that is if I'm showing you a graph like this, and I need to show all these parts because I'm going to bounce around, my favorite way to draw an eye to a specific part of this is actually not using an arrow, which you could use, but I like to use the light box trick, which is like this. You see how your eye just goes right to that lit part? All it is, I'm actually going to go into Canva here and show you how this works. So this is the first slide, and this is the second slide. The first slide is simply just the chart. The second slide is 2 charts. One of them is in the background, and if I go to transparency here, you could see that if I just bring it all to transparency 100%, it's actually like the same chart, but I'm going to bring it down. The background is black, so it looks a little bit darker. And this is essentially just the same image, but just cropped right here in this area. If I were to double click this, you could see that I could bring this out. It's literally the same image. And I can actually hit enter and move it. See, it's just the same image right on top of that. I just copy pasted the same image on top of it. I crop this so that it just shows what I want to show. And then I hit done. And then when I go from one slide to the next using a transition, I'm going to go to change transition. You want to do dissolve. So it kind of like goes and kind of the rest gets dark as the next part gets light. If I use slide like this, it looks weird. So if you need more information about that, I have a more detailed tutorial about the lightbox trick in the description for you. But let's go back into this presentation because we're closing in here. All right. Stories. Storytelling is one of the most important things that you can learn how to do when it comes to presentation. And in all my big talks on stages and even smaller ones in conference rooms, I use stories to lead into the lessons and the points because stories make these things relatable. They offer purpose to the point that I'm making. And I always reveal the point as I'm telling or after I tell the story. I don't just go, hey guys, here is the tip number 5. Let me tell you a story about that. Just start by telling the story and boom, you bring in your visual element at the right time, sort of like a punchline or reveal. And man, it really makes a big impact. And as you're telling a story, people often are wondering, what's the point of this and where's it going? And this is how you captivate and keep attention. And what I like to do is if I'm telling a very long story, what I'll often do is I'll bring the slides down to black, right? I actually have a slide that is black that I dissolve into that allows the audience to just now watch me, just like you're watching me right now, because the slides don't matter. You saw the element, and now I can tell a story and then go into it, right? And yes, a story might have multiple slides and whatnot, which you can reveal at the right time as well. So I want to wish you good luck on your next presentation. Big or small, doesn't matter. I hopefully have removed a little bit of stress for you. If you want more information about how I do slides and things like that, I have down below some more links to help you get started. So good luck to you. Thank you. And make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And be sure to check out Canva again, just the best tool that you could use right now for presentations. patflynn.com/Canva. Thanks so much. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.